And a Fox News alert. Disgraced financier accused child molester Jeffrey Epstein was found unresponsive in his prison cell this morning. Justice Department officials are calling it an apparent suicide. With that, we bring in Kevin Carroll, current partner at Wiggin and Dana, former chief counsel of the U.S. Council on Transitional Organized Crime. Appreciate you being with us, sir. Boy, there are a lot of conspiracy theories on this one floating around the internet, especially given some of the names that were dropped yesterday as being part of Epstein's world, and perhaps even in worse vein than that. You believe any of them, or should we just believe in incompetence that he was allowed to commit suicide?
Leon, thanks for having me on. Yeah, I wouldn't believe in the conspiracy theories. I think when you hear hoofbeats over the next hill, it's probably horses, not zebras. I think this was incompetence on the part of the Federal Bureau of Prisons here, and I don't think he was murdered.
Bill Barr, the Attorney General, saying that he was appalled by this. He was on suicide watch. Unclear if he was still on suicide watch when this happened. But boy, for a case that seemed to have the potential to ensnare a lot of rich and powerful people, dead men tell no tales.
It doesn't look good. The one thing I would say is that the deposition testimony that was released yesterday by order of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit was taken back in 2016. So this information was known to the government. So it's not as if Epstein was, shot while walking into the grand jury while he was going to provide live testimony. But it's not a good look.
You think about some of the names that were put out in that grand jury testimony, this by a self-described victim saying essentially that Epstein pimped her out to a number of very rich and powerful people who are innocent until proven guilty. But does it make it harder or easier to prove those people guilty now?
Well, I reread the indictment today, and the charged misconduct, is certainly disgusting, and it would have been very good to be able to have Epstein in court to have to answer for this, so they'd likely have invoked the Fifth Amendment. But there's still ways that they can go after this. There's the physical evidence from the execution of the search warrant on his townhouse, which now nobody will have the standing to challenge the admissibility of it. So that's out there.
So if conceivably you are a person in Epstein's orbit, or you're representing a person, I should say, in Epstein's orbit, who may have participated in some unsavory activities, of which it seems as though a lot of unsavory activities went on in his orbit, are you more worried or less worried with this news? I'm
still worried. What I'd be looking at is three things. One, there's a Department of Justice Inspector General investigation going on into the plea deal that was reached back in 2008. Two, I would assume that there'll probably be civil suits against Epstein's very large estate by the victims, and there'll be all sorts of civil discovery involved in that. And then three, looking at the indictment that was issued this year by the Southern District of New York, they list employee 1, employee 2, employee 3, other associates. They're not named. But I would be interested, all of the misconduct that's in the...
Based on your reading of the documents so far and the tea leaves here, did the government feel as though they'd reached the top of the food chain, if you will, and were going down? Or were they trying to go up from Epstein on the food chain, or at least out to a circle of friends, not just enablers?
What it struck me as was being a very bare-bones indictment. That I think the government probably knew more than they were letting on. So absolutely, they could have been trying to get Epstein to flip and give up a bigger fish. One thing I'd be interested to know is the date stamp on some of the child pornography that was discovered in his house and made in his house, and whether that would solve any statute of limitations issue for going against people that were involved in this conspiracy.
Boy. The investigation continues, as you said, believing competence rather than conspiracy. Here the FBI is now investigating this, which is unusual, to say the least. Kevin, appreciate your insight, sir. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Leland.
Good to see you. Kristen?